दिवि भूमौ तथाकाशे बहिरन्तश्च मे विभुः यो विभात्यवभासात्मा तस्मै सर्वात्मने नमः। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. We always compare these two things, the two texts of yoga in the practical application. One is the Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna gives the whole idea of yoga in the battlefield to Arjuna so that it enables Arjuna to get into the battle. The second thing is about the way that Vasishtha gives Rama, who was in a state of despondency, and at that point of time he really required the way that the things are clarified so that he can go ahead and do the activity, which is basically the purpose of his mission of life. So therefore, that there is so much of commonality. Probably Vasishtha must have said to Rama various ideas, and the whole idea that Vasishtha gives to Rama is about the knowledge, jnana. Though it is called as yoga, therefore, a lot of people call Yoga Vasishtha as Jnana Vasishtha. It's also supposed to be yoga, text of Jnana Yoga text, and nothing much to do as practices, but the clarity, understanding that you can come across in Yoga Vasishtha, that's a very interesting thing. Though Vasishtha has given Rama all those details, later on, the authors of this book who compiled all those thoughts that Vasishtha gave to Rama, lofty, wonderful ideas, ideas about the intricacies of mind, and without bringing any mystification, very beautifully presented. And that particular text, which is Yoga Vasishtha, but then this book, Yoga Vasishtha, must have come much later after that dialogue between Vasishtha and Rama has taken place. While compiling this book, they might have added stories, ideas earlier that was said before writing this book, but after the Rama's event has taken place, put all those things together. Therefore, this is a huge volume, has various anecdotes from various places. And one big chunk of information that you get in Yoga Vasishtha is from Bhagavad Gita, because Bhagavad Gita is a very similar text. And that way, that the beauty of Yoga Vasishtha is that he acknowledges to the discussions between Krishna and Arjuna, whatever the Bhagavad Gita dialogues are there that they have taken. Not only that, probably the author must have been so impressed by the shlokas of Bhagavad Gita that he almost like bodily puts those shlokas in the Yoga Vasishtha. You may not find in the smaller books of Yoga Vasishtha about that, the essence of Yoga Vasishtha and other things, but in the Yoga Vasishtha Ratnakaram or Brihat Yoga Vasishtha, these sutras that you can find. These are the sutras which are directly taken from Bhagavad Gita. So, all the time I was always devoting my time on whatever the sutras given by the Vasishtha to Rama or various other characters that they have discussed. But today I thought it directly the sutras which are given by Krishna to Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita. We try to work on these particular shlokas that you find it in Bhagavad Gita. Out of 700 shlokas that are there in Bhagavad Gita, a number of them randomly are selected contextually, but though and then presented in the Yoga Vasishtha. So, and particularly it is come in the Arjuna Upakyanam and chapter of Arjuna. So let me just pick up from the Yoga Vasishtha Ratnakaram. What are the shlokas that are there? The original text is in Sanskrit and Telugu, but then I will try to give my own translation of these Telugu translation into English. But I also have the Bhagavad Gita from Gita Press Gorakhpur, and I will also refer to the translation given by the Gita Press Gorakhpur, which is of all the various Bhagavad Gitas, very authentic kind of a interpretation. We'll try to look into that so that maybe it can throw light on us. So he says at one place, Sarvabhutasthamatmanam Sarvabhutani Chatmani Pashyatvam Yoga Yuktatma Sarvatra Samadarshina. It appears in the sixth chapter of Bhagavad Gita and it is 24th Sutra. 24th Sutra from the sixth chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Sarvabhutasthamatmanam. And Atmanam, that means to say me, is there in every bhuta, every living being, and Sarva Bhutanija Atman. That means, and you try to see that your Atman is there everywhere, and then you are there in everybody's Atman. That means there is no difference at the Atman level between you and anybody that is there in this earth. It's all one and the same thing. Sarva Bhutastam Atmanam Sarva Bhutani Atmani Pashyatvam Yoga Yuktatma. This way that Yoga Yuktatma, the way that you perceive Yoga Yuktataha. That means to say, when who is established in yoga, that's what he perceives. Body level, yes, we are so totally separate and different. We don't have any connection from the body level. If it's from the same family, maybe some kind of resemblances may be there. But then there are very few here and there, but then you are separate from the other. This separation is there. Not only at the body level, prana, your prana is different from the other's prana. Your mind, your thought process, that whatever that is there within you is you are alone. And not only that, even the intellect, the way that you perceive with the intellect, you see the intellect. No two individuals are the same. God never created two individuals exactly the same way. Each one is unique. There is nothing like one is great, one is less great. There is nothing like that. But then there is uniqueness. Uniqueness because that He wanted that variety. God has this infinite variety He could create, so that's how He created that. But then at all these levels, when you remove these outer layers, that is the physical body, prana, mind, intellect, and even the emotions. But behind that, once you transcend that, where you are supposed to be the consciousness or Atman, Swarupa, yourself. And that is the same in all human beings. Although uniqueness is there at the world outside, but the deep inside, there's one thing, and if you can see that, in fact, there are several shlokas which suggest about this idea. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita at one place, Atmanyeva, he says that Atma upamyena sarvatra, sarvam cha mai pashyati. That means you take the others as yourself in the sense that when you say something, when you talk something, when you are doing something for somebody, look at yourself whether if somebody does to you, are you happy with that? Is that the way you wanted it to be done? You wanted it to be executed that way, then you do it. If you feel that you cannot, people should not do to you that way, then you don't do to the others. But normally, what happens with us is we would like to do to the others what we wanted to do. Others should not do for us. Others should not reciprocate for us. I abuse all kinds of, I hurl all kinds of abuses at somebody, but the other should respect me. It's not even the question of hierarchy. That means to say somebody is higher, somebody is lower. You may be boss and he may be subordinate. He may be a simple worker, but you may be somebody who is really a big boss. In spite of it, when you look at yourself, remove all these things which are there outside and then look at what is supposed to be the consciousness. You and the other, it's all separate. They are not different things, it is the same. Therefore, that you respect that. One army officer used to say that whenever there is a security, sends a sentry and who wishes you, who greets you by a salute. He would stop there and return the salute for him and then proceed further. He would always say that any person salutes you, that you respect it, receive it, and return it. That's what the respect that the salute deserves. That means to say, if somebody has to respect me, I have to respect him back. In fact, in one occasion that I've seen, Obama, he was about to get into the flight and then he came down from his car and then was rushing to the aircraft. He already took a couple of steps, and then the person who was there, the security person who was there, at the foot of the bridge, and then he actually saluted Obama. But then Obama took 4 steps ahead, but then he realized, and then he came back and stood in front of that sentry and saluted him back. Then he proceeded on to the aircraft. What an amount of respect he has given. It's not a question of I'm President of India and that President of America and this person is an ordinary security fellow. Nothing like that. This is very important for us to observe that Atma Upamyena Sarvatra, Sarva Bhutastam Atma. In everything that is there, you see yourself, Sarva Bhutani Cha Atmani, Pashyatvam Yoga Yuktatma, Sarvatra Samadarshana. Samadarshi takes place, equivalent takes place when you go to that level and perceive that and then interact with that rather than interacting with the body, interacting with this. Great people, many times you can see that how they interact with the people, not with the individual that they are interacting, but they deep inside that consciousness that is there. Suddenly, that you recognize that consciousness is somebody, when you yourself are established in that consciousness, that we need to understand that. Once we are established ourselves in that consciousness, and that's the same thing that you can see in the others too. That's very, very important. If I'm constantly doing practices to see that I recognize my consciousness, I'm with that, then that's the same thing that is I'll be able to see in the others. When I do not know that I am the consciousness, I don't even accept that, I don't even have knowledge of that, then where is the question that I see in somebody else? Sarva Bhutastam Atman, Sarva Bhutani Atmani. That will not happen. When that will not happen, Sarvatra Samadarshana, Samadarshi will not happen. Samadarshya is very, very beautiful thing, and that is Samadarshi is that when at the consciousness level we are the same, all other things are different. They may be different. He may have nice, wonderful musical voice. I may not have that music talent. He may be doing at a very high level position in the society. I may not have that position. I may not be the person. But all these things do not belong to that consciousness. They are outside and they are functional. Such a person who says these things, sees their thing, Samadarshana. The Sama is very beautiful idea. We don't have equivalent in English. We translate that Sama as equal, but it is not equal. But it is the way that what it deserves, what is the way it is supposed to be given. And then give that respect and look at that as its own merit. And that's what is Samadarshana. It's a very important idea because in God's language there is nothing like equal. There is nothing like equal at all. No, there may be two twins who are born at exactly at the same time, the mother's womb. But when they come out into the world, they are two different. And one is jealous of the other, and one is aggressive over the other. All these things you might see, you might come across because that two individuals are two individuals. Sama can never have the idea of equal. Equal means the space and time, everything exactly the same. And modern science itself says that at the same place you cannot have two things. Only one thing can occupy at one place, the other thing cannot occupy. And that's useful, that's applicable only at the material level. Therefore, when you see that, you try to see equal. It's only a few parameters that you look at them equal. The money that you pay or the idea that you give, whatever that is there. These are the things where you see the equality, but then not in the some way. One might not require any money at all, he'll be happy. Another is person who really is somebody who is greedy of money. So the same money gives make one fellow is extremely happy, is overflowing, the other person does not even care for that. And he is still looking for more and more and he become a bigger beggar. So this is what happens. So therefore, Samadarshi, Sarvatra Samadarshana, everywhere you see the Samadarshana. It's not between the individuals, but even the animals and the plants and everything else. Do you see in them with the way of Samadrishti, equivalent, the way that you see that the Sama means the way that you need to respect that. and the way that you recognize that its own identity as very, very important. And that is what is Samadrishti. And this is taken from the sixth chapter of Bhagavad Gita, the 24th Sutta. Sarvabhutastamatmanam Sarvabhutani Jatmani Pashyatvam Yoga Yuktatma Sarvatra Samadarshana. Rama is going to go for a huge life in front of him, an establishment of the dharma. The focus is establishing dharma. For that, he might have to do a lot of things that are there. He might have to kill some people, he might have to fight a war, and he might have to excuse some people. He might have to bow down his head in front of the sages. Everything when he does, he can come across the people who are of different nature, different categories. But in spite of all that, can you think of it that he can have that samadrishti, samadarshana? That's what Vasishtha is teaching Rama. यदा कुम्भसहस्राणां सबाह्याभ्यन्तरं नभः जगत्त्रय शरीराणां यथा ह्यात्म उपस्थितः. Well, this is an example which is given from the ancient times. It says that there are several pots that are there, but then the pots, each pot has this, they are called as kumbha, and sahasranam, the thousands of them, sabhahyabhyantare nabha, inside and outside they have the same sky. And the moment that you break the pot, then the sky that's there inside the pot, or the space inside it, mixes with the space in the world outside. There is no difference at all. It's all the same thing. But then what happens is that because each pot is separate, so therefore that the space that is there also seems to be confined and separate. But then it's all the same space which is outside or inside of various thousands of pots that are there. The same way, we human beings, billions of population is there, but then inside also we are this kumbha example. But then inside also we are the same space, outside also we are the same space. Same space is there outside, same thing is there within. Only thing is what it requires is to suggest when you break, then you become one with the space itself. This is one idea. This is from the ancient time, but today modern science can also explain this very beautifully. That we see that one seed is there from that the tree comes, and that seed, which brings about one tree, will have millions of seeds. Now you see that all the millions of seeds that are there produced in the tree have the same quality of tree that is there hidden inside this one tree. That means, is it not that one tree has become many? So that way, in nature, that this one becoming many and hidden, being hidden inside that is something which you can see today with the modern kind of an understanding very clearly that all these things are valuable. And now this is something which is also useful to understand that many people say, all right, that you carry certain vasanas or samskaras or the karma, and then you come back into the life to with that same karma forces that are there. So then people ask that so many people die, but then so many people are one count. When you look at it, that earlier there were less number of people and now there are more number of people. What happened to them? How did that more number of people added? There are some people who try to postulate some idea saying that no, no, there are so many animals and there are so many other creatures also. They also evolve into human being. That's why population of human being is increasing. That means to say they are looking at the count in number. But it is not that number that's important. But what's important is the kind of feeling that is there. One having several ideas that are there may be born in several different individual ways, but then every individual is basically governed by already set ideas. That means hey, his life is not out of freedom, but it is out of bondage. That means you are bound to do certain things. You are collect. That is how it happens. It's like the way that one wave, big wave that goes out from the comes and it hits a shore and goes back, and the same energy comes back in the form of next wave. But it may not come as one wave, it may come as multiple waves. One can become many, many can become one. So at the only gross level, we have this idea of number. But the moment we go to subtler level, it's not the number, but it is the amount of force that is there, or the vasana, the power that is there behind it. and how much of an attachment for one particular thing or the other. That's what decides. Yatha kumbha sahasranam sabhahyabhyantaram nabhattaram antare nabha jagatraya shariranam tathatmaha pasitaha. And second thing, sarvabhutastam sarvabhutani atmani yah pashyati tadatmanaha makartaram na pashyati. So here he says again, sarvabhutastam everywhere, that is you who is there, and he is there himself in all those things. And such a person, he may be, when somebody who sees like that, he immediately identifies himself as not with the object outside, but he becomes an observer. This is something which is very philosophical idea. He says that you become an observer yourself. When you are looking at somebody as an observer, it's as good as that you are looking at yourself as an observer. And this observer is the Sakshi Sthiti. And that Sakshi is not Kevalopamaha. That's what Upanishad says. Sakshi has no taint of anything. It is pure. And that pure self is what we become. Such a person is at the Sakshi level, one who sees everywhere the sameness that is there. The Sakshi is somebody who has penetrated not at the gross level that he is perceiving, but is going to the subtle level. And that person is a person who can be Sakshi. In fact, many times this thing will happen to us also. That and how beautifully it manifests in the form of activity. Like there was one of the YouTube channel that I was seeing that one person who was a engineer working somewhere in US, and then he came over to India, and then suddenly he saw a old man, beggar like, and then no samskar at all, no washing, no nothing at all that. And he stopped his car for a moment and looked at him. So recently happened, and then he saw that he has the resemblance of a very great mathematics professor, a Sanskrit professor, and then he is also good in mathematics. He was one of the highly decorated kind of a person he found it. He also won the national awards and all those things. But suddenly he saw that this person is, he came close to him. In the beginning he thought that he may not have recognized him, but then he come close to him. He made it sure that it was him. Then again, the moment that he came up, what is he seeing is that he is seeing himself in that person. He loves, he has a respect, the respect of consciousness, and the same person is also that. And then immediately he took him along with him in his car and then gave him nice shave and all those things and nice clothes, nice food. Did not have food for several days and all that. He was into depression. Fortunately, mentally he was not bad, but only thing is he was so deeply depressed that he was not recognizing anything. And then after a couple of days, then he told his story that his son who became an addict, drinking, and then he spent all his money in the drinking. And then he wanted to have father's money also and all those things, whatever it is. Then he threw him out. When the mother died, he threw father out. And then he made him beggar. And this father, because that his son disowned him, only son that he had disowned him. And then he was there as a beggar, and whatever that, waiting for his death, whatever that comes in his way, that he will be spending like that. Now this man has really helped him to come out of it. How could he help him? You see that it's not that he is helping somebody. In fact, in the interview, he said that when I was helping him, when I'm doing all kinds of things, I was not doing for anything. I was doing for myself because I see myself in him. I see that he is such a great, he's like my icon when I was in the school, college. And then such a person today is like that. And then he sent him to a old age home someplace and he rehabilitated, takes care of everything that he has. But he is passionate about his Sanskrit, therefore he organized a few children to come to him and learn Sanskrit. What a great service that he could do it. See, this is what is the idea that this is. Now, the moment that you have seen at this level, Nirma, and when you go to that level, that's where he brings about another shloka from the 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. That is the fifth shloka, and where he says, Nirmana mohaha, jitasanga doshaha, adhyatma nitya, vinivritta kamaha, tandrair vimuktaha, sukadukka sangaihi, gacchantya buddhaha, padamavyayam tat. So, such a person, nirmana mohaha, that means to say, there is nothing like abhimana and moha for him. Jita Sanga Doshaha, that means to say, all the attachment that were there and the evils of that attachment. He has conquered that. That means he crossed over that. They don't anymore bring about disturbances to him. Adhyatmanitya Vinivritta Kama. That means to say, forever he was able to stay himself in the Atma. And in the stay in the Atma, that means identifying himself to be the Atma. And the body is there only as an outer cover. And then Vinivritta Kama. It's a very lovely idea. Once he is so satisfied with himself and is so peaceful within himself, then kamas do not touch him. That means desires do not touch him. Yeah, the world is there and he is there in the world, but then he never had the idea of kama. Kama is a negative state, whereas prema is a positive state. He's full of compassion, he's full of love, he's full of positivity, never in the case of negativity. This karma is a negative state. I want, I desire, I desire. I want to fulfill myself. And everybody has to do for me. This is what is the way that karma. Karma is that you feel, however much that you feel, that you are still empty inside. And that's what you want like to take care of it all the time. This is what is the karma say. And then he says, Vinivritta karma. Karma left him alone. He is free from that karma. And Tandrair Vimuktaha. Ah, that's a beautiful idea. That means to say he doesn't have any, Dvandvair Vimuktaha. That means he doesn't have pairs of opposite, good and bad, right and wrong, this and that, this okay, this not okay. All those things he has come out with. Sukha Dukkha Sankai. He is free from Sukha and Dukkha. And then Gacchantya Mudhaha. Padamavyaya. When all these things are gone, Gacchantya. Then such a person is a person that we established the state of Atma. So one and this state of being in the state of Atma, it's not that somewhere when you go and that's what has to happen. Here and now, in this world, not only in this world, but while engaging in this world itself, that you should be able to feel that. It's not running away from this world or selecting something and not selecting something. Yadurchala Santushta, that's what Bhagavad Gita also at another place says. Whatever that comes to you in your way, just take it. And you don't label it. You don't say that this is good, this is bad, this I like, this I don't like. Next to Sutra he says, Matra Sparshati Kamteya Sitoshna Sukalkata Agama Payuno Nitya Tam Titikshasvata. In the battlefield, Arjuna is there to fight the war, and he has number of people who are his own friends on the other side and his this side, and they're all fighting with each other. And then ups and downs are going to be there. Definitely, some people die, and some people become victorious. And that people who became victorious may not like it, and people who die, he may be pained by that. So, what happens is that this some people are pained, some people are in pleasure. All these things are happening. Matra sparshastu kaunteya. Now, what happens is this experience of Sita Ushna. Earlier, he said about Dvandvaya Vimuktaha, and that Dvandva happens because that the body is in contact with the objective world outside. When the body is in contact with the objective world outside, yes, it has this pain, pleasure, this kind of thing. In fact, we have this body to have those experiences. Without this body, we would not have any experiences. But having gotten through these experiences, we have evolved through this. That's why this body is given. That's one of the reasons why Shastras say that human birth is the one where one can raise to the heights of the mukti, vimukti, moksha, freedom. No other particular species or form will not give you gods and goddesses, all those things. Which we have all these ideas, and they are not the places where that you can definitely do the sadhana to go there. That's why it is called as karma. Karma bhumi is because of this world where you have the experience of pleasure and pain, sita ushna, that means cold and heat, and then sukha dukkha. All those things are there in this world, and that what because that your senses are attached with this world. What is that which makes you to do that is that when you identify yourself with that consciousness, it is not that you don't have the experience of these things, but you see that these things belong to the body level. Body has that pain and pleasure. Yes, somebody who has reached that state, you make him touch something which is hot. Yes, it burns. Something which is cold. Yes, he feels a shiver out of it. All those things, like any common man's experience, he will also have it. But then he is somebody identified with the consciousness, means basically he sees that the body has all these experiences, but then he is free from them. This way, when he looks at himself, he will be able to look at the others also, that they also have body, their body also goes through that experience. Whatever that he has the experience of pain, pleasure, will be the same as for them also. Therefore, because he is consciousness, the others do not recognize that consciousness there. Now he will see that they don't get hurt by these things. You don't hurt anybody else. You will only see the people with compassion. Because compassion is that they don't understand that they are also consciousness, therefore they go through the experience. Therefore, when you are conscious of that, when you are conscious of that, you see that your compassion is there, therefore that you see that you don't hurt anybody. Because that for you might transcend, but for them they will not be able to transcend because they are in the ignorance. That's why Nabuddhi Vedam Janaye Dajnanam Karma Sangaram. That means to say somebody who is Ajnan, that means he is young. Don't disturb him. Only thing is that you try to see that you can help that. It is like the way a child tries to put the hand in the fire, catches hold of the fire because fire looks very attractive, and many times the child extends the hand into the fire, and then mother curses herself, saying that I should have taken care of the child. She doesn't say the child, saying that why did you put it in this? Or even if she says that, it's out of love, out of compassion, she says to the child, why did you put your hand in the fire? And she curses herself, saying that I should have taken care of it. That means you don't blame somebody. You don't, because that is an ignorance. When you say a child is in ignorance, therefore the child put the hand in the fire, and then you take care of it, blame on yourself. If you can do that for a child, why can't you do that for an adult also? He is also like a child as far as the knowledge is concerned. Therefore, he hurts himself, he hurts the others. This is what is going on. So therefore, matra sparsha himanteya sitoshna suparitava akamapayino nityaha tam titiksha. Don't try to see that you avoid one and invite one. Agamaha apayana. Whatever that comes and whatever that goes. That means basically it is anitya. Anitya means it doesn't stay long. Yes, sukha is there for a moment, next moment dukkha will come. In fact, sukha itself gets converted into dukkha, and from dukkha that you come out of the sukha. Similarly, like the way heat is there, then you become cold, and suddenly that cold becomes heat. So this change is inevitable, change is occurring. That's what is the nature itself. Day to night to day, season, summer, hot summer, and from there we go to the deep winter, biting winters, and then come back to the summer. Maneuver all those things, but then you don't get affected by that. Agamaha, apayanaha, nitya. Anitya, these are the things which are not permanent. Tam titikshasvara. Whatever that belongs to the body is impermanent because body itself is impermanent. Whatever happens to the senses is impermanent because senses themselves are impermanent. And you are somebody who is behind all those things, who are ever existing. And because that you are ever existing, you may be in this body, but then tomorrow you may come out of this body, you exist as a consciousness also. संसिता स्पर्शमात्राख्या मात्रा स्पर्श भ्रमात्मकः समदुःखस्थो धीरः सोमृतत्वायः. Somebody who could see these things, detach himself as a witness and see that these things are there. Samsita sparsha matrakhya matra sparsha brahmatmaka. That this sparsha, this experience that is there is brahmatmaka. That means it comes and goes. It just stays for a while and then goes away. Samadukhasko dhira. Dhira. Somebody is establishing that consciousness is somebody. Dhiraha. Dukkha sukha, that he makes it sama. Sama does not mean, as I said once again, that it is not the equal amount of dukkha, equal amount of sukha. It's not that the quantity wise that dukkha and sukha we have to make it equal. But if you're thinking that you, as much as that you invite the sukha, invite also dukkha. If it comes, if it is on the way, you get into that. Many times, even yesterday also, one person was complaining about that. If the moment that there is something good happens, immediately my mind goes into this will not stay long, and this is going to be an experience which may take me to something which is destructive, something which is very bad. I'm waiting. I'm always like, for example, now if I say that I enjoy this fully, that means I'm inviting something which is negative, very bad. So, why with that idea, she says that even the happy moment that comes in front of me, I do not enjoy those happy moments because I become so skeptical about this happy moment. Whereas it looks like that my datum is supposed to be negative, and then positive is something which is once in a while shows up. It's like a tip, it comes up, but then otherwise my base line is supposed to be negative. So she was so afraid of it, and that was the reason why she was under constant tension because for her everything is supposed to be like negative, leading to negative. And few experiences that are there in the life also that she looked at, all those things became so negative. Marriage became negative. When she loved her grandmother and died. Yes, one day she has to die. So I know that one day she has to die, but that death is going to be is, has devastated me. So this is how that you like one and you don't want other. These are the things that happens with us. And further, Yoga Vasishtha talks about the fourth chapter of Bhagavad Gita, 18th shloka, he recollects it. It's also a very interesting thing. Karmanya karmayah pashet akarmani cha karmayah sabuddhiman manusheshu sachokaha krishnaku karma kriti. Karmani akarmayah pashet akarmani cha karmayah. This is what is the 18th shloka in the fourth chapter. The chapter 4 is supposed to be Karma Yoga chapter. And there Krishna gives a hint to Arjuna saying that Karmani akarmaya pashet akarmani karmaya. For us, normally the idea is that karma is an activity and akarma is non-activity. The very fact that it is called as akarma means where the karma is not being there. Often we put them one opposite to the other. They are like two ends, one positive and the other negative. It's not like that. They both have to coexist. This is right from the beginning the way that Indian philosophy looks at that our Sanatana Dharma always looked at that both these things have to coexist. And in a larger principle that when you look at it, yes, everything that is born has to die. Birth and death exist together. If birth is supposed to be positive, death is negative, then whatever that is born will have to die one day or the other. Same way that whenever that you are doing an activity, the activity is a component actually coming from a non-activity. If there's only activity that's going on, there is nothing like a non-activity. Then how do you define that it is like to be? It is like an activity because it is known to be an activity with difference is something which is non-active. In fact, you recognize an activity because that there is something which is non-active at the background. Then only you recognize an activity. Activity cannot be recognized without that background. It's like the way that you want to write, use a white chalk and write the letters. You will be able to see the letters only when there is a pitch dark blackboard. On that white letters can be seen. If the board is also white, your chart is also white, that you can't see anything. So you always perceive, our senses always perceive the thing which is opposite, the pairs of opposite that is there. Then only that we perceive, then only that we recognize the whole thing. Movement that you recognize again is something which is non-moving. Like that the way that you are sitting in the train, probably seeing off somebody in the train, and sitting and talking, and suddenly you see that the train is moving, and oh, I need to get down, that you rush. The other person says, no, no, our train takes another 15 minutes time. You can sit down, you can discuss until later on, you can get that. How do you say that? Why do you say that? You see, what is moving is the other train, and then the train that you are sitting is not moving. And you look at the other window, then on the side of platform, you can see that the platform is not moving, you are not moving, this train is not moving. So we identify ourselves with whatever that is non-moving also, that we recognize the movement. Or we are identify ourselves with the moving. There also it is possible because there is something which is non-moving. They both coexist. Karmani akarmaya pashe. We need to see that. In fact, that's why we have such a beautiful example of wheel. Wheel is a structure. In fact, everything is in the form of wheel. Wheel is a structure where the movement is possible when it is at the periphery. But look at the center. Center doesn't move. Axle is that, means basically it doesn't move. It doesn't rotate. The wheel that rotates, axle doesn't rotate. If the axle also rotates along with the wheel, then that wheel is not useful. And every wheel has to have an axle. And the dimension wise, when you look at it, that wheel has dimension, whereas this center of the wheel, center of the circle, is the very definition of it is a center. It's a circle with no definition. It's zero definition. So because that is there, all these things are possible on top of it. So there is always something which is non-moving, and on top of it, moving is there. And we can always go from moving to non-moving, identify ourselves with that non-moving to again to come back to the being. If the freedom is ours, because you cannot separate these two things out. And whenever you want to, and there is another very important aspect is that when you are seeing a wheel, and then if there's a point that is there on the circle that is there, because when the circle moves, when the wheel moves, the tendency of the particle is to go away from the center. That's what the centrifugal force. It goes outside. That means to say there is a tendency for you to go more and more into the work outside if you are not careful, if you are not aware. Therefore, we get caught up into the work. Not only we get caught up into the work, we viciously get caught up into the work. So, karmani akarmaya pashe. While doing the karma, always have that feeling behind it is what is akarma. There's something which is not moving behind it. And within us, we have this aspect of it. One is that which is the activity that you are doing. But while doing an activity, if you are really careful, you can see that there is somebody behind you who is watching, who is observing that activity going on, and who is not involved in that activity. That's what is called as sakshi. So karmani, akarmaya pashe, that means to say, recognize that there is sakshi behind every activity that you do. And sakshi is supposed to be free from any of these activities that are going on. Sakshi is not even loaded with your dharma. Sakshi is not loaded with your civic sense, your this and that, and all those. Somebody behind all those things that are there. Sakshi does not have anything which is related with the world outside. And Muslim Sakshi or a Christian Sakshi or a Hindu Sakshi. These are all not really true Sakshi. These are all the things that we created. Religious masters have created on us. So that they have given certain values and they belong to the religion that they belong. Similarly, as an engineer, as a doctor, that you have certain values that are there, that your profession has loaded on you in the form of a Sakshi. How can I do this as a medical doctor? I cannot do this. As an engineer, I cannot accept this kind of a thing. See, who is that who is talking about? That is engineer Sakshi or the medical Sakshi. These are also belonging to the world outside. But the true Sakshi is somebody who is not involved in these things, but he will be behind all those things. That's what is akarma. It's so easy to get caught up in this various other Sakshis that we create. Society also creates a Sakshi within. Like for example, if you are in America, you are always supposed to drive on the right side of the road. In England, that you have to drive on the left side of the road. It's a very strict rule. A friend of mine from India, we followed basically the British rule that all that. Went to America and then he saw several vehicles coming in the opposite direction. He was saying, Raghuram, why everybody is driving in the opposite direction? I said, you are driving in the wrong direction. You are in America. You cannot take up this way. Oh, suddenly he realized, pull the car aside. When he was supposed to take that road, then deep inside the consciousness that is there, the Sakshi that was there, it's supposed to be Indian Sakshi, saying that you have to turn to your left. He negotiated actually where he was there, as I remember today, that he could have easily taken a turn towards that direction that every vehicle is going, but he crossed those things and went to the other side and started going in the opposite direction. And how strong that Sakshi created by your culture, your values, your civic sense, all those things are there. But these are not the akarma. That akarma is the real Sakshi behind all those things that are there. So therefore we have that karmani akarmaya pashi. That aspect is that. Akarmani cha karmaya, karmani akarmaya pachet, akarmani cha karmaya. When you are not doing any activity, also recognize that there is activity that's going on within. What is that akarmani cha karmaya? It is that activity where the I is not there. So I is connected with the karmani, that means I'm not doing. But at the same time, karma is going on. Recognize that. A very simple example is that the food that you take. See, you select the food and put it in your mouth. Until that far that you are involved with that, you put it in the mouth. But once you put it in the mouth, then the food travels by itself. And then it goes through all kinds of processes. Whatever that is good part of it, that it separates from the bad part of it, bad parts is thrown out your system, and the good part is further analyzed and further deciphered and all those things and converted into blood, converted into flesh, converted into fat, and then deposited where it is to be deposited. Huge activity is going on, and that activity there is no I behind it. We normally call it as eating the food is karma, whereas the food that travels that way is supposed to be pachana kriya. When you look at in the whole activity of karma that you are supposed to be doing, is it not something that 99.99% is where the ego is not there, the I am doing is not there. But then we say that I am eating food. It's only point not 1% is what we are doing. So in karma, what you are doing it, every karma that you doing it, you can always see that akarmanicha karmaya. That means you put yourself in the karma and see that the karma goes on. It's not the question of you stop the activity from outside. It's not cosmetic. It's not to the world outside that you want to show it, but to see that you are placed yourself in a karma, and then the karma that's going on without I being there, that's what is kriya. Children do not have that karma aspect, akarma aspect of it. Children are there. They don't exist. That's why the children says, uh, stomach is hungry. The stomach is hungry. I am hungry. They don't say that. They don't have the construct called I. I is not there. Stomach is hungry. So that's a very beautiful statement that they make. So akarmani cha karmayaha. That's what is the idea. You say कर्मणि अकर्मयः पश्येत् अकर्मणि च कर्मयः सबुद्धिमान् मनुष्येषु सयुक्तः सचोकः कृत्स्न कर्म कृते. Such a person is a person who is kritsna karma krite. Such a person is a person who is definitely doing an activity like the way that God's ordained activity that's called. त्यक्त्वा कर्मफलासङ्गं नित्यतृप्तो निराश्रयः कर्मण्यभिप्रवृत्तोऽपि नैव किञ्चित् करोति सः. There's also another shloka from Bhagavad Gita, and where it is the chapter 4 and then shloka 20th. And also that Yoga Vasishta takes up 19th shloka. Earlier, what we have seen is the 18th shloka. Then he also picks up 19th shloka. Yasya sarve samarambhaha कामसङ्कल्पवर्जिताः ज्ञानाग्निदग्धकर्माणं तमाहुः पंडितं वृथा. सर्वे समारंभाः and kama sankalpa varjitaha. These are the two important aspects that are there in every activity that we do. One is the kama and the other is the sankalpa. Sankalpa is the idea that I need to do it and I put my pressure behind it. And then kama, I have a desire behind it. I want that this work to be done so that I can achieve so many things. So all these things, karma is always associated with the result. Karma is always associated with a means to the work, and the end is the karma that is going to be done. And then sankalpa is the one where you put the force behind it, you put the pressure behind it, saying that it is my sankalpa because of it that we have done. Kama sankalpa varjitaha. If you look at the nature, where is the question of karma and sankalpa? The whole nature works without these two things. And karma and sankalpa are the very subtle way of the ego manifestation. So he says that yasya sarve samarambhaha kama sankalpa varjitaha. Where any activity that's going on, samarambhaha kama sankalpa varjitaha. Very lovely way of presenting this idea. He says that there's an activity which is going on all the time, and then you have just joined that stream of activity. That's samarambhaha. Arambhaha is something which is not there. That means it's just flowing. The flow is always taking place. When did the work start? Far before that you have come onto this earth. You are in the part of this flow. And after that also the flow continues. When you go back also the flow continues. Flow is something which is going on all the time. Actually nothing but the creation itself is a flow. Gachati iti jagat. Gachati means that which moves. In fact, very beautifully that in the second Ramayana, second aspect of it, that is what is the Ayodhya Kanda. Until that time, Ramayana was so wonderful that Ayodhya Kanda is a place where it turns into complications. And the complications started with that shloka. Gachati, it starts with Gachati, indicating that Bharata has gone to his father, his mama's place. Gachatam, he says that. That means to say move. Tyagaraja puts it very beautifully that Kadale Vadu Kade Ram. That means to say Rama himself does not move, but then things are moving around him. From that time onwards, when after the marriage everything is over, and they are at that and Ayodhya, at that point of time, then Bharata's uncle comes and says, "Come on, let's go to our place." And Bharata follows his uncle along with Shatrugna. And that's what he describes as Gachata. In a very poetic way, Valmiki brings about it. Gachata means now real movement started. When the movement started, then you don't know what kind of turns it will take. And that's where basically the all this Rama Pratap idea has come and the Rama has to go to the forest. So the whole lot of things have happened from that point of time. Ayodhya Kanda, where it starts with Gachata, the movement is started. So therefore, he says that त्यक्त्वा कर्मफलासङ्गं वितत्तो निराश्रयः कर्मण्य अभिप्रवृत्तोऽपि नैव किञ्चित् करोति सः नित्यतृप्तः. Very beautiful idea, that is always peaceful, satisfied. Nirashrayah, he is not dependent upon anything. Yes, we are all like that. We can manage whatever may be the situation. That confidence, once we have, Nirashrayah, Nitya Triptaha. That means to have no expectations. Very interesting thing is that whole complications start with our expectations. And somehow, the moment that somebody becomes closer to us, then we immediately mount our expectations. Small little simple thing, we do a very simple idea, but then the moment that we don't know, without even our expectation, he is mounted on that. Like for example, somebody's phone fell down. He is driving the, say, two-wheeler and then fell down. Immediately you are there by the side, you pick it up and give it, and that person takes it and then goes. At that point of time when you picked up to give it, there's only one human consideration that was there, that he has to take a trouble of getting down from the vehicle and stopping the vehicle. Meanwhile, other vehicles come. All those things are there, whole 9 yards. So he just wanted to avoid that. Very simple human Samaritan, that you pick it up and then give it to him. But then what happens? That person goes away. Then you start thinking there. He did not even say thanks to him. I've done so much, he did not. See, you know how the expectations mount. This expectations is the vindication of Nitya Truptaha. That means I have absolutely no expectations with anything in this world. Nirashrayaha. This Nirashraya is also used as Aniketaha. That means he doesn't have any shelter. Nirashraya. Karmanya Abhipravrittopi Naivekinji Karoti. Even such a person, when he gets into the work, Naivekinjit Karoti. He is not the doer. यस्य सर्वे समारंभाः कामसङ्कल्पवर्जिताः ज्ञानाग्निदग्धकर्माणि तमाहुः पंडितं तथा. Jnanagni-daggha your karma has to be burnt by the jnana, knowledge. No, it is like the way that the burnt seed, and then you do the activity. When you do not have that burnt seed concept of it, the karma is definitely going to create vasanas again, samskaras again. That means the whole wheel continues. The wheel of bondage. That you do the activity, expectations mount, or then you want that something bigger to be done, something more to be done, and this continues. Whereas Jnanagni-daggha karma, tamahoho panditam. This is what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita also. Namam karmani limpanti name karma phale smutaha. I have nothing that is holding on to me. And there is nothing like the karma that I am doing is holding on. Karmendriyani samyamya yaste manasasparam indriyarthan vimodhatma vidyacharasya uchyate. He brings about this two aspects of it. One thing is that the karmendriyas, jnanendriyas, karmendriyas that are there outside, sanyamya, you hold on to that, you control them. Yaste manasasparam, but then in the mind that you continue nurture the astha, that means attachment to that. That means basically that whatever that you are doing is to impress upon the world outside. It's not really spiritual deep inside. It's not you are doing for yourself, you are doing for the sake of the world. Anything that you do for the sake of the world, it's all right. The world might think you that you are a great person. But are you really spiritual? Have you really gone spiritual? That's the reason why we have to come out of that. Not only that, karmendriya and singing, yaste manasaspada. Mind also going along with that. This is what is Yogastha Gurukha. Beautifully, Krishna brings about all these ideas about karma so detailed. That's what Vasishta picks up in Yoga Vasishta. We'll continue the discussion next time. Oh. Shanti Shanti.